This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So please try to make this session as interactive as possible, because that's the way I actually go about taking my sessions. Okay. I don't just believe in keeping on talking. So how did you come to know of SAP? I mean, it's a very curious question I ask everybody at the start. Henrietta, obviously you're working in SAP, so you would know about that. How did you come to know of SAP?
I'm working it. I've been working in oil and gas field.
Mm-hmm.
So in the finance department, we have to use SAP platform
Yeah.
for the finance to do a lot of accounting, account payable, POs, making payment, vendor management, vendor master data, and also
What kind of, if I may, what kind of transaction codes
Oh,
are you actively?
I use a whole lot of transaction code. I use Myro, I use FB60, I use FB65, I use F
Credit memo,
F110, F10.
invoice,
I use
automatic payment settlement.
MM23. I use F47.
Okay. All right.
I use a bunch of reverser, a bunch of in the finance.
All right. Okay. Good. Good. All right. So understanding the domain is the important part. SAP you can learn at any stage in your life, but if you don't know your domain part, SAP has more than 50, 60 modules to offer. If you do not know your domain, which is why I inquired about what your background is. To study FICO, it is very important that you have the finance background. You should know your debits, credits. You should know your financial statements, profit and loss account, balance sheet, how the balances are carried forward at the end of the year. It's very important, right? So before knowing what SAP is, it's important to understand what an ERP is. Enterprise, resource, planning. What is an enterprise? An organization, a business, any legally established entity with the motive to earn profits. Resource refers to the resources of the organization. Resources of the organization, namely money, materials,
human resource, sir.
machinery, manpower.
Yes, sir. Human resource.
Yes, and a whole lot of other resources which are collectively put together in an organized manner to earn profits. Planning refers to planning of these resources. Every resource has a dedicated department to plan, manage, and execute their resources. Now, why is planning essential? Why do we need to plan? What is the importance of planning? Anyone? Why is planning so important?
Planning is important because we need to know the state of the organization, so we know how much we have to spend, the capital.
It's basically optimum utilization of resources. See, profits, there are two aspects of profits. Yes, of course, increase of revenue results in profit, but decrease of cost will also lead to increased profits. So optimum utilization of resources will help us in curtailing costs. So every department is responsible to manage their particular resource. So money is being planned, managed, and executed. The activities of the resource money being planned, managed, and executed by the finance department. The activities of materials are planned, managed, and executed by the procurement. Machinery is being managed by the production department. Manpower, obviously, by the HR department. All right. So really the job of an ERP is to store the data, day-to-day transactions in a structured format so that whenever information needs to be recalled, can be retrieved at a few keystrokes. Management information is key for decision-making purpose. Okay? For quick decision-making purpose. Unlike you see 40, 50, 60 years back, we didn't have anything called an ERP system. We didn't have the concept of complex computers. Okay, it was mostly manual, handwritten ledger notebooks. So if the management wants to find out, say for example, the tax paid, the VAT for the month of November, the poor accountant will have to go through the ledger books. It's going to take him a couple of days before he can, find out the entire information for the whole month of November. Time consuming. Delay in presenting the information. Delay in decision making, therefore. Okay. Now, with the help of an ERP system, data can be retrieved with a few keystrokes, and whatever information you want, whatever reports you want, can be retrieved. SAP is one such ERP. SAP is an ERP. Other popular ERPs might have heard of Oracle, close competitor of SAP. JD Edwards, another very popular ERP. Microsoft has their own product called Dynamics. Bun, Sage, quite popular in the UK.
Yep.
Sage, Navizon, Xero, QuickBooks.
AS400 too.
Yes. Okay. Over here we have something called Tally, but these are primarily meant for small and medium enterprises. Sage, Tally, and all. These are the bigger players: SAP, Oracle, Dynamics. So these are the bigger players meant for large multinational organizations. Okay, which require multi modules to be implemented. Okay, dedicated modules to be implemented for each department. So that is a brief about ERP systems. Now, like I said, SAP consists of modules, two modules in particular. One, functional. On the other, technical. So there are about more than 50, 60 modules SAP has to offer. FI and CO. By the way, FI and CO are two different modules. FI represents financial accounting. CO represents what we call as, in our language, what we call as cost accounting. SAP calls it as controlling, that's all. FI is meant for external reporting purposes. CO is meant for internal reporting purposes. Materials management for the purchase department, materials activities. Sales and distribution to monitor for the sales department. Production planning for the production or the factory. HCM, human capital management for the HR department. Okay. Quality management, project systems, plant maintenance to monitor the fixed assets of the plant. So likewise, you have for each department a specialized module. Technical, you have two technical modules, ABAP, basis. To study ABAP, you should have knowledge of programming. Your coding skills should be very good. You should have knowledge of some Java, C, C+, and all those stuff. And basis is a very important person, just as the FI person is a key from the functional side. The basis person is a key from the technical side. They're the people who issue your login ID passwords. They monitor the system so that nobody does any unauthorized activities. Server maintenance is done by them both physically as well as through the system. They take backups from time to time. Network security is managed by them. You should have knowledge of servers, databases, knowledge of operating systems, Windows, Linux, all these things the basis person does. Okay? And we can select a module based on either our experience or based on our educational background if we do not have the necessary work experience. All right. These are the modules in SAP. Next, career opportunities. Now, there are two kinds of people essentially in a SAP environment. One is an end user. The other is a consultant. Okay? An end user is a person who posts their day-to-day transactions, who views the various reports, the financial statements for decision-making purposes. So essentially, an end user, who is an end user? An end user can be an accountant. An end user could be a manager, or an end user could be a part of the management team, top management team, who views the various financial statements to take key decision making. Okay? So for an end user requires a system to post their day-to-day transactions from where reports can be generated. It could be any system. Today they might be having SAP, tomorrow they might decide to shift to Oracle, day after tomorrow they might take some other system in their organization. Doesn't matter. As long as they have a system to post their, to record their, sorry, to record their day-to-day transactions. That person is an end user. Okay. So the job role of an end user is to post business transactions. In SAP, we call it as business transactions. A consultant is a person whose primary role is to perform the configurations. And they should also have knowledge of the accounting transactions. It's not just that they do the configurations and that's it, the job is done. No, they should also have knowledge of all the business transactions that the end user is performing. What are configurations? What do you think could be configurations? Anyone?
Trying to implement or upgrade
Uh,
to configure a system.
yes, to configure. To configure means understanding the requirements of the client, of the end user, and doing the backend settings. In simple layman language, you're going to do the backend settings. So without the configurations in place, not even a single transaction can be posted. Let us understand with an example. Say Shell is an organization. Okay. Shell is using, I don't know, say Shell is using, for example, QuickBooks. And Shell now wants to migrate to SAP. The Shell has decided to migrate to SAP and remove QuickBooks from its system. What is Shell going to do first?
Business requirement.
Yes, what is first Shell going to do is it's going to approach a couple of SAP implementation partners, SAP implementation vendors. Okay, these are the companies who hold license to implement SAP. Companies like IBM, Accenture, Infosys, Capgemini, Larsen and Toubro Infotech, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and many more. I mean, you have lots of IT companies. Okay, obviously, whoever gives the least quotation, they're going to get the contract. So, assuming that IBM has given the least quotation, Shell gives the contract to IBM. Okay. Now, IBM here is the SAP consulting firm, and they are the people working here are the consultants. So, SAP consultants go to the client location. Shell is the client or the end user. They study the business requirement of the client. As a FICO consultant, you would go to the finance department of the client, the end user, Shell in this case. Why? Why would you go to the finance department? Likewise happens in all the modules. I'm just sticking with finance. So the consultant would go to the purchase department. SD consultants would go to the sales department. PP consultants would go to the production department. HCM consultants would go to the HR department. So the same happens in case with all the modules. As a FICO consultant, I will first go to the finance department. Why? Why would I go to the finance department?
I think is to, this is Baba here. I think is to get to know what they are currently using, how they want to set up the system, how they want to implement the.
One second. What they are currently using means I didn't get there.
No, you want to know what they are currently using, which we know already, but we want to know how they want to configure or structure the new SAP system to meet their needs. So to configure it.
Okay. See, what is it that we are going to do in SAP system as a consultant? Nothing magical, nothing out of the world that we're going to do. All that we are going to set up in the system, all that we are going to configure in the system is what process the end user is following. It's very important for me to understand the existing business process. What is the end user? What are the activities the user is doing in general ledger? What are the activities the user is performing in accounts receivable? What are the transactions and accounting entries posted in accounts payable? What reports do they want to see? What kind of financial statements they want to be prepared in what format? The entire existing finance process is what they are going to understand as a consultant, because this business process is what I'm going to configure in the system. Nothing extraordinary. How these transactions are performed in QuickBooks in their existing system that I'm going to understand. So the user is going to tell me I'm performing about 50 transactions in a day. I'm viewing this reports. Okay? This is the requirement of the user.
So basically, you're getting the business requirement from the
yeah. We call this as the blueprint, preparation of business blueprint, BBP, business blueprint. Preparation of business blueprint takes maximum time in a project. Understanding the existing business processes is of real critical importance. If the stage is a failure, then we can pack our bags and go back, because business process is what we are going to incorporate in the SAP system. So that is what is configuration. Okay, understanding the requirements of the client and doing the backend settings. Once we configure It is also important that a consultant has knowledge of all the accounting transactions that a user performs, all the reports that a user wants to see. Why? There are two reasons. Testing, yeah, training. I cannot hand over the system after the configurations are over. I cannot hand over the system just like that to the end user. Yeah, cannot do that. It has to be properly tested, be error free. When the user starts posting transactions, they should not encounter any kind of error or messages. So all the transactions that the user posts, all the reports that the user wants to view, I will test it out first and check if the system is throwing any kind of error. If it does, then I have to go back to the configurations. I have to see if the settings that I've done are correct. If not, rectify them, come back, retest it. Okay. So testing actually offers an opportunity to validate our configurations if they're correct or not. And then training. What is this training? Training the user,
Yes. Yeah.
training the end user. Not on the accounting part. Users would be highly experienced end users. Users would be highly qualified end users. We need not tell them what is a debit or credit, what is a financial statement, how to post it, your accounting entry. We do not educate them on that. We need to tell them that these transactions that you were using in QuickBooks, now you're going to use it in SAP. These are the transactions you post it in this way. We're going to give them documentations along with screenshots so that they can refer to them in future if they have problems. From testing and training point of view, it's very essential a consultant knows the business transactions as well. Yeah. Are you clear with what business transaction, what is a configuration?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next, architecture. Though not a part of uh, functional consultants, so not a part of the functional consultants syllabus or curriculum. The terminologies are very important to know because it's used in day-to-day consultants' life. Everybody would be knowing it. Even sometimes the user would be knowing it. So you will use these terminologies day to day, whether you're a functional consultant or a technical consultant. So a broad overview of the terminologies over what to what. So what is architecture? Architecture is used commonly where? Usually in the construction, right? So architecture refers to what are the components that go in building the product, here in this case, SAP. Okay. SAP is built upon three layers. Presentation layer, application layer, and database. The presentation layer is nothing but our physical screen, how the physical screen looks like, from where the user posts their transactions, from where we want to view the reports. All right. It's just how the physical screen looks like. That's all. So how your physical screen looks like from where you want to do the various transactions, from where you want to view the reports. Okay, so accounting, financial accounting, which submodule you want to post uh, the transaction, what kind of a report you want to view. All right, so basically the physical screen, the graphical user interface. I'll come to application layer in a bit. We'll go to database. What is a database? Database. Database. Anyone?
Yes, the arrangement of data in organized format, retrievable,
Yeah.
organizable format.
Yeah. So basically, a huge collection of data is a database.
Yeah.
As and when you keep on saving your data, whatever you have posted, it goes and sits in the backend. For example, I save this Excel, then I create another Excel. I save that Excel too. So when I save this, what happens next? The system is going to throw a pop-up where it is going to ask me, where do I want to save it?
Yeah.
Then I will select my desired directory, desktop, C drive, D drive, E drive, or wherever I want it, or on an external hard disk, whatever. So basically, when I save it, it goes and sits in my hard disk. Okay. Here, whenever I save some transactions, any accounting transactions that I save in SAP, it goes and sits in something called tables. You need not worry about what tables are. Let us not get in depth of the technicalities. Tables is a technical topic. Okay. It's just that data goes and gets stored in tables. Every transaction has a different table. Every field has a different table. Now, my question is it enough? I'm a user. Okay. I post 100 transactions today. Is it enough that I post the transaction and forget about it? Will those transactions be used in future? Do I need to view those transactions in future tomorrow? Or I've posted those transactions and my work is over?
No, you have to be able to retrieve it and
Yes,
and
there is a
reports out.
need to view those transactions in future also. Based on those transactions, I would need to create other reports. I want to view the other reports. So for example, so all the information is stored in database. From the presentation layer, I need to access whatever information is there in the database. Application layer helps me do that. In simple layman terms, application layer acts as a bridge between presentation and database. So really, application layer is the logical, it's brain of SAP. It consists of a set of logical programs. When you execute it, it will run in the background, go to the relevant tables or the database, fetch whatever information you want, and throw it back to the user in the presentation layer. For example, I want to view the status of a customer. I want to view the status of a customer. So I run a report. Okay. Don't worry about what I'm typing here and all those things. I want to view for this company, there's only one customer. So for this customer, what are the transactions that have been done? I'll select the whole year from 1/1 to 31/12. So when I click on execute, the system is going to go to the application layer comes into picture here. It will go to the backend to wherever customer related information lies. So all the customer related in tables, it will fetch all of them and throw it back, execute, and throw it back to me in this very screen. So now I know 85,000 pounds is what is due from this customer. It also shows us other reports, customer clearing, invoice, credit memos, payment, full payment, partial payments, residual payment, how is it done, down payment status. Okay. So all the transactions done with this customer. And finally, the customer has to pay us 85,000 pounds. Okay. Broken into this. These are the open items. I hope you understand what is a presentation application and a database.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So nothing more to go in depth. That's not really our topic. That's not really our subject. Okay. If you want to study out of your interest, you can. But uh, an overview of this is sufficient.
I have a question,
Similar.
Ram.
Oh yes,
So,
please go ahead.
as a consultant, you have to go
Mhm.
through all of this architectural layout that you just mentioned, the
No,
table.
whatever I have told you, you just need to know what is what. What is a presentation? What is an application? What
Okay.
is a database? That is all.
Okay.
You need not go in depth of what is a table, how many kinds of
Vision layout.
tables there are, what are the kinds of table, what is a customer related table. You will
Mm-hmm.
come to know about it slowly as you start working.
Oh,
But there
okay.
is no dedicated, see, tables is a dedicated, what do you call, topic
Mm-hmm.
in when you study ABAP.
Yeah.
The ABAPers have in-depth knowledge about what, uh, you know, tables are. And as you keep working, as you start working, as you keep working, you will come to know on a day-to-day basis, on a daily basis, that this table belongs to customers, this table belongs to vendors. You will automatically come to know. See, there are certain things which you can gain by work experience.
Right. You're
Tables
correct.
is one of them. You need not, you need not dedicate yourself to study something in which you're not an expert. To study tables, you need to have knowledge of something else.
All right.
There's no real need to dedicate yourself to tables, right?
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Same holds good with, most welcome. Same holds good with system landscape. Any SAP organization that you work in, any SAP organization, any organization which runs on SAP has 3 servers. Development server, which is further bifurcated into 2. Golden client, sandbox. Next, quality. Or we call it quality assurance system. We call it quality for short. Finally, the production server. Now, development server is the server when initially, we have taken the example of Shell. As soon as Shell expresses their desire to have SAP implemented, we as consultants go there and start the configuration process after understanding their business requirement. All the configurations are done in Golden Client. Golden Client is a dedicated, clean server only meant for the configurations. Nothing else is done, no testing, nothing. It's clean, it's a dedicated place only to manage the configuration. In the sandbox, what we do is once you have done all the configurations relating to the entire finance process, all the other consultants will do there, we will do the finance. Once you have done the configurations with the Golden Client, copy all the configurations and move it to sandbox. As the name suggests, sandbox, we do all kinds of testings here, primarily the business transactions. Check if the business transactions are working, if they're throwing any errors, go back to the golden client, check for the settings, recheck in sandbox. So basically, development should be clean, should not throw any errors at the end. Once it is green, no errors, copy all the settings from the golden client to the quality server. Why do we do this copy? Because it doesn't make any sense in repeating the same configurations again. So, which is why we store it in a dedicated server for one. Copy to the quality server, a battery of all kinds of advanced testings takes place. Unit test, regression testing, integration testing, functional testing, portal testing, load balancing test, server testing. There's a separate testing team which will be sitting doing all these tests. And finally, very important, the UAT. At the very end, user acceptance test. Training the end user, giving them documentations, and getting a written acknowledgement from them that all the training has been given, the documentations have been provided, and they are confident. I mean, they can start working in SAP independently. Only then, only if UAT is an acknowledgement is received from the user, only then can we move all the settings, all the configurations from the golden client to the production server. Production server is the live server. We as consultants will not be given access to the production server. It's a live server. Anything done in the production server will have a real financial impact. If the user comes up with any complaints or errors, we can always go back to quality and development and check there, because it's the same settings that are being copied from golden client, the same transactions that have been tested in sandbox. Our job lies in development and quality as a consultant. Okay, so that is system landscape. No need to go in depth of what is a system landscape, what is a server, what are the types of server. Absolutely not our field of study, but these are done, are spoken about on a day-to-day basis. So terminologies are important to know. And now this copy that I'm talking about, I told you about the copy from one server to another server. In SAP, we call this as transport. That's fine. It's just a terminology. Transport of configurations from one server to another server. Right? So these are the, with this I come to an end of my demo session. Any questions that you have, any questions that you want to ask, please feel free.
Ram, on the system landscape, I hear a lot of this terminology at work, because there are sometimes we'll have errors that when they're doing the training of this new SAP HANA, I hear them say we have to go to quality server and go do a testing. We use a lot of that terminology, and the production is where the end users. Yeah,
exactly. This is what I said. This is what I said. Every day you'll be hearing this terminology.
Yeah, that's true.
The consultant will never have access to the production server because
No,
that's a live server. The live server is only meant for the user to perform their transaction.
Yeah, I have access to the quality server because sometimes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I have to go there. They tell me, can you check on the quality before I go back to the production and see what's going on? Yeah.
So as a consultant, you will never be given access to production. Never. That is only meant for. So when you go live, when when you go live, access will be given only to the end users. Access will not be created for the consultants. Likewise, an end user will never be given access to the development and quality. Never. That is where the settings are. That is where testing lies. Testing details lie. That is where the configuration lies. Your heart is over there. Configuration is the heart of the entire, the project. You cannot mess up that.
So the transportation you said is where they are moving one application to another, right?
The configuration. See, without the configuration, what did I say? Without the configuration, you cannot post any transaction. Yeah. Now, configuration is stored at one common place. If there is any mistake, you rectify the configuration only in that one common place. Then move it to the other servers. Why do you move it to the other servers? Why do you transport it to the other servers? So that you need not have to repeat the same configurations again and again. That's the whole purpose. Now, in the sandbox, I have to test out all my transactions. But I cannot post my transactions unless I have the configurations in place. So it doesn't make any sense in repeating all these configurations that I've done earlier. From one place, I move everything to the server wherever it is needed, to the sandbox initially, and then to the quality server when everything is okay in quality. Finally, from the golden client to the production. Yeah.
Excuse me, does it mean that every project you do will always have a golden client and sandbox?
Yes. Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Every organization which runs on SAP will have development, quality, and production. Although I have seen some organizations which have just two servers. Okay, these two will be merged as one, and the second server will be called as the production server. Very rare case. Why they do that? Because they want to save money. As simple as that. But really not at all an advisable practice. Okay, most of the organizations, they have three servers. Okay? Very rarely I've seen, I've just worked in one organization which had two servers. Okay, development and quality was merged, and then they had this production is inevitable. You have to have production.
Sounds good.
So I have a question. How long is this class going to be for? Is it going to be day? Is it going to be night at the same time? Because, the time varies.
Duration would be for about 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
And Monday to Friday, every day, 1 hour, Monday to Friday.
Oh, what time? Because I work, so.
Yes, so time I'll discuss with Krishna. Krishna, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.